Hey there. We are talking about change in the market. Is there a change in the market? Lots of buzz. Everybody always wants to jump on a bandwagon and grab the headline and be the first to call something terrible happening. The world loves bad news and the media love bad news. And so when we get market information, which by the way is always about 3 months after the fact, the media loves to try to call upcoming trends based on something, some sort of metric. And so we're hearing lots of buzz. We're getting lots of questions about whether the market is shifting or changing or crashing, or thousands of different words to use to describe, and how our buyers and sellers ought to move forward from here. So we want to set you straight on a couple of things. And first and foremost, we'll tell you in a second, I'm Ruth Sheehan from eXp Realty.
And I'm Danielle Tully.
And we're putting the real in real estate. So today we're talking the real dirt about the market and whether there is a major change coming. And the first thing we want to say about this is we don't know, and neither does anybody else. So we have to clarify that and get it out of the way. What we can do is help you interpret things that we're seeing, things that we're feeling, the things that we're hearing in our market right now, and how that might affect buying or selling behavior, right?
Well, I'll say it. It did shift. But what does that shift mean, right? We've kind of alluded to some of these on some of these Friday lives that we were seeing data, we were noticing trends, we were experiencing things, and so there has been a difference. Today's market is not the same as it was in March or April. But what does that mean? That's what we want to explain to you today. It does not mean, we could say some of the things it does not mean, right? It does not mean that buyers now have the upper hand. Completely,
No.
Totally not the case.
No.
It does not mean that houses in some areas or the right houses in other areas are not getting multiple offers still. They are.
Correct. They are.
So we are seeing some similarities to a couple months ago. In some regards, we are, but we're trying to interpret if some of it is the end of summer, back to school, or just even summer trends where people much rather be, especially after the last year and a half we've had, would much rather be on a beach or enjoying a party or something like that, opposed to going out and buying a house.
And when we look back over the last few months, so I would say probably June was when we started feeling this pressure ease, right?
Yes.
It wasn't this huge hyped up house went on the market, we have to get there in 5 minutes or it's going to be gone. And that was also when most of the COVID restrictions were lifted. So people started feeling comfortable traveling again. People started doing all of the things that they had been putting off for a year. And we're in Chicago. Summer is hot. It's vacation time. It's the time when everybody does everything that they couldn't do all winter long. Our real estate market slows down in the summer 100% of the time. At least in my experience in my years in real estate and all of the years that I watched it before I was a realtor. So right. That always happens. I think this year it was even more noticeable for two reasons. One, it had been so on fire hot. And two, COVID. So those two things probably contributed to a little more awareness. But it did not come to a screeching halt by any means.
Right.
We still have very low inventory, which will translate to say means far fewer houses for sale than there are buyers to buy them. We did not suddenly have a huge rise in numbers of houses hitting the market.
Correct. And I'm not really sure what is still, even knowing all these people who wanted to sell their house because it was a great time, I still don't know why, I mean, it could be job insecurity. It could be, again, lack of priority. That's not the priority. People wanted to enjoy and have fun and do other things than pack up their house and sell it this summer.
We had a number of buyers who got exhausted with the process because it was so difficult. So we personally had several buyers who said, you know what, I'm just going to wait a minute because I can't keep up this pace anymore.
Well, I have or just the opposite. I've had a few buyers that have gone months without something that, and their requirements aren't necessarily very demanding. I mean, they were very generous on their what they could afford, and what they were willing to pay. They just had a couple things that were, be the size of the yard or how many bedrooms or something like that. And there just wasn't anything to come up with that.
And that's saying that extreme lack of inventory is still definitely there. So Correct. What we see is the buy side eased up a little bit. We did not get a supply side glut. That's not
Correct.
happening.
Right. We didn't suddenly go to 30 days on market. We're still probably seeing 7 to 10 days. But again, we might not, in some markets, I'm not seeing $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over list. I never really saw that too much, quite honestly. I was seeing more multiple offers at or around, just in the market.
At or a little bit above list price. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were seeing quite a bit of 15 to 20,000 over for, a couple of months. Certainly not as extreme as it's been in other parts of the country where we're reading that people are getting, 40, 50 offers and they are 100, 150,000 over list price. That we haven't seen anywhere in our market. No. So now
we should probably clarify when we talk about 15 to 20 over, we're talking, I think across the board, we're seeing maybe 5% over.
Yeah.
So 15 to 20 on like a $400,000 house, possibly 5 to 10 over on like a $250,000 house.
Right.
Max.
Yes.
That's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Or have been.
And a couple of outliers on both sides.
Of course. But
that has everything to do with the, how fabulous the house is and how well it's priced and all of that too. So if you're already overpriced, you're not going to get multiple offers over list price because you're already overpriced. Correct. Sometimes you get stuck without offers at all because we can still overprice in a market like that. So we have been seeing an easing, I guess, of the pressure and the tension. I don't really even want to call it a slowdown because that just sounds different than what this feels like.
Correct.
We have buyers who have a little bit less of a time urgency. A lot of times in the spring, buyers want to be into their new home by summer, before school starts, have some time to get, everything in place and ready to go. Once we pass that season, buyers feel a little bit less of an urgency and they might take a little bit more time looking around for exactly what they're looking for. And when that happens, it feels slower. That doesn't mean that there aren't, buyers out there. They're just looking instead of buying just at the moment.
Correct.
And then what we typically see is that changes kind of all of a sudden. And we don't really know exactly when it's going to happen, but all of a sudden everybody's a buyer again.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to say people do what other people do. So if everybody's looking, everybody's looking. And if everybody's buying, everybody's buying.
Correct.
But we don't see, and the people we follow and listen to who are really smart people don't see this as a new trend. They don't really see the market flipping anytime soon. So we do get people who are asking, should I wait? Maybe prices will go down. Again, disclaimer, caveat,
We don't know.
we don't know.
We don't.
Nobody knows.
Nope.
But we don't think so. No, there are no indicators that that's going to happen.
And we're still seeing,
you
know, very, very low interest rates, which is going to keep the idea of home ownership a lucrative idea for people.
Yeah,
you know,
and remember,
interest.
people always think of low interest rates as, you know, kind of a nice thing without recognizing the buying power that comes with that.
Correct.
So that's part of what makes those prices rise, is when an interest rate goes from 3.5 to 2.5, you can sometimes buy a house for $50 or $75 or $100,000 more than you could before without
Correct.
changing what you pay every month.
Monthly payment. Mm-hmm.
And when you buy a house, you live in the monthly payment. That's what's going to change your life. That's what's going to determine whether you're going out for pizza on Saturday night or not. The price of the house matters most when you sell it.
Correct.
Would you agree, Danielle?
Yes.
So if you're purchasing and, you know, you're looking at two houses and one is $5,000 more, but it's got a brand new flooring, let's say, and you're saying, well, $5,000 amortized over 30 years is a pizza a month.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So we are seeing buyers sometimes stretch to that higher level, look past the house that has a couple of things that need to be done. It's much easier to borrow in a mortgage than it is to borrow to do projects.
Correct.
So if there are projects, the buyers are opting for another house that costs more money.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm seeing that more and more. The HGTV effect is what I like to call it. But it's true. There's something to be said.
Yeah, when it cost a lot of money to borrow money, the idea was, you know, frankly, my generation who bought their first houses, you buy a house that's got ugly wallpaper and carpeting, and you get a good deal on it, and then you do those things one at a time as you live there, make it your own over a period of time. That's just not really the trend right now. So a major part of that is these low interest rates. It's really easy to put $10,000 more on your mortgage. Right. Far easier than it is to spend, even if it's less than that, even if it costs $8,000 to get that done.
Right.
Buyers are less likely to want to do it.
Correct. Correct.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Yes, that does help.
When you're planning,
especially when if things do take a smaller downturn, you know, continue trending. That is a way that people can definitely keep their houses more desirable in the sale process.
Yeah, and check with us on what those desirable things are, because they might not be what you think they are. Yes, and we often have clients who go ahead and think they know what needs to be done, think they know what, you know, the process is, and we get there and they've spent a whole lot of money on something that isn't going to make much difference to a buyer, and they may not have done something that a buyer would have been really impressed with.
Walked away from. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So always check in with us early. We like to say, don't call us when you want to sell your house. Call us when you think you want to sell your house.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, even if it's many months out or even a year, you know, to help you slowly get through that process and get through the ideas and understand
make the right choices and the right decisions. We're not going to push you. I mean, we're not going to try to make you sell your house when you don't want to.
Gosh, no.
We're just going to give you the right, correct, and true information that eventually is going to get you what you want and where you want to be.
Correct. So All right. I think that's it for today. But hopefully everybody had a great, for the most part, back to school week. Most school seems to be back to school. A couple in our area aren't, but everybody's gearing up anyway, one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah. So most in the suburbs, I think, went back this week. Chicago goes back after Labor Day.
Always.
I know a couple of schools that go back next week, and then there were a couple even that went back last week. So
yes,
everybody's really in that season. And I always find this as an adult, since long after I got out of school, this still feels like back to school time. I mean, even beyond getting my kids ready to go, this is always the time of year when I commit to new projects and feel like I'm going to, it's almost like New Year's,
right? Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of make resolutions. I feel like I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to do all my homework. I'm going to get straight A's.
Absolutely.
So,
good.
I've got a bunch of exciting things I'm looking forward to for this fall.
Good. So, speaking of, we'll just say one more thing. Be on the lookout for something we're having at the end of September too.
That's right. Yes. If you are in our circle, if you've bought and sold homes with us, or referred people who bought and sold homes with us, or have, helped
our cheerleader.
Our cheerleader. We've got something coming. So.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
Until next week.
Putting the real in real estate.
Yay. Bye-bye.